what are the type of games that Singaporeans like?
Those type of games that when they play the games, they have a chance to sabo or sabotage other people. When you play a game with your lifetime partner, you can actually have a chance to see whether your lifetime partner, how he or she reacts when he wins or when he loses the game. I've seen people crying, and quarreling, leaving the cafe.
Hi everyone, it's Gabrielle again, your host for We Are Not Ordinary. In this episode, I'm thrilled to welcome a very special guest, Alvin, the founder of The Mind Cafe, Singapore's widest collection board games cafe located along Prinsep Street. Did you know that playing board games can reduce stress and elevate your immune system? Join us as we roll the dice and elevate our mind, one game at a time. Hi Alvin, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Excited?
Yes.
Pumped? Okay, because I'm very excited to be here. I have visited Mind Cafe a while ago, so always very pleased with the experience here. So today I really want to find out a little bit more about yourself as well as the Mind Cafe. So to kick things off and make things a little bit easier, I'd like to first ask you, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to open the Mind Cafe?
Basically, I'm a civil engineer.
Okay.
Right. I graduated from the local university, and after my graduation, I worked in the construction industry for about 10 years as a so-called as a builder, where I built schools, condos, factories, and clubhouse. So through the process of building, actually, I'm more keen with the mechanics or the way of doing business, because I like to build on probably a piece of land, then you build the buildings and all that. So I was always on the hunt to do something on my own, especially last few years during the 10 years of in the construction industry. So I chanced upon this competition, monopoly competitions, where I play with strangers. So managed to participate because of the attractive price, right? But somehow lost. So when I lost the game, so I thought it's quite interesting to play with strangers, because probably it's also why did I lose?
Yeah.
So I go and get the games, and then from the supermarket, and then go home and then find my parents and my siblings to sit together to play. And then I was thinking, oh, this is so fun! Having got a chance to play a game with them, because as far as I know, that time I only know about Monopoly game.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of research, and then realize that there's so much actually of this style of board games cafe that's happening in Korea, about 3 or 4 years, and they have a few hundreds. So after a few months of research, so I decided to give up my quite a good paying job, in construction. So I give up the job and then go into this board games cafe. Started with the first outlet at Prinsep Street. I do a little bit of research, realize that people actually play board games in open area, like a cafe.
Yep.
With the research, I realized that there's so much of games title other than Monopoly itself. As at the time before I start off, it's really 60,000 titles.
Okay.
So there's so much. So I was thinking is that if, how about Singapore? So in fact, we are one of those countries that started after Korea.
So speaking about these diverse board games, I understand that the Mind Cafe itself, you all have more than 800 board games. Is that correct?
It's actually more than that.
Yeah.
But what we can only do is that we can only release at the current moment, put about 800 on the shelf, where the staff actually know how to teach the customers.
Yep.
But back at our warehouse, the number of titles is actually more than double of this.
More than double?
Yeah.
So that's almost close to 2,000.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Because,
then
throughout this whole year, right, there are a lot of games titled that we will consider might not be relevant now.
Okay.
So we actually have to keep it aside, put it in a warehouse. Yeah.
And how do you know? For example, so you have a whole list of all the games and a little bit of description for each board game, I assume. Then how often do you all go in and say, okay, this is not relevant anymore? And what do you use to consider
If no
when it's
one
relevant?
if no one is playing it, no one is touching it, it's not relevant
So
anymore.
it's like food. It's like a food item at a supermarket. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
So
understand.
if like no one is asking for this game, no one is playing this
Yeah.
game, and if the staff try to promote this game and try to teach the customer, but the customer refuse, then it's time to go.
So if there's one game that it's your favorite, what is it?
Oh, there's more than one game,
Okay.
right? But of course, there are a few very interesting game. I think I still have to give it to Monopoly, right? It saved me, or it helps me to start off this business. It helps me during COVID as well. There's a very interesting story about COVID that I do with Monopoly. But other than that, there are also a few other board games title like Costume Buddy, I'm the Boss, Saboteur. These are very good games that I think people should give it a try.
I love Saboteur, and that's why I think the extension pack is confirmed need one. If not, I cannot proceed. It's one of the most exciting games. But really speaking about the games, I want to ask, are you sure and are you very sure that you're well versed with every single game?
No.
No? Then how do you refresh your memory?
I wanted to do that when I started off the business. So I even slept at a cafe trying to read all the rules to make sure that I know all the games so that I can teach customer. But actually, to run a board games cafe, it's not like that. In fact, what I should do is that I'm running it as a business. I need to find people who are so much better than me in teaching board games, and I hire them to teach people how to play board games. So at the end, most of the staff actually know more board games than me. I only probably know less than maybe about 10%.
Oh, then how do they, I mean, is it like studying where they go through every single instruction sheet, or how exactly do they get well versed with the games?
It's true, like, every month we will launch like a couple of games, like maybe like 10 games title. So there'll be a period of time where the staff would have to read the rules and then try it out within the staff and then teach the customers. So if you got to say that most of the people who work in a board games cafe, the characteristic is that they are the one that usually like to read rules. If they don't like to read rules, then I think it's going to be the tough time for them. So it's just like, when you buy appliances, you buy like washing machine or you buy like oven, how many of us actually read through the,
No, not me for sure.
Yeah.
That's
So-
why I cannot.
So if you are looking for people with the characteristics of like who have the patience to read through, the rules and all that, I think they are most likely my games teacher lah. I mean the facilitator here.
So that's kind of like the challenge for them. Because it's not just explaining the rules. You actually have to lure them and make sure that this game actually sounds interesting.
Yes, because for a board games cafe, basically customers comes in, they pay a price to be here, right? And they want to enjoy playing the board games, but they don't want to go through reading the rules, and they will need some help from the staff. So the staff must be able to teach them how to play the board games.
So behind me, there is a huge collection, but of course this is not everything that you have. But how do you come to build this diverse, a collection of board games?
Basically, we have sources from all over the world, right? We have publishers, we work with them, and through their recommendations and through also our observations on what works well in Singapore, we bring in all these games. And personally, I'm the one who review what are the purchase. I mean, like, what are the games that we should bring it in and put on the shelves. I might not be all the time right. Usually, maybe like 1 out of 3. Like, for every 3 games I bring in, one of them will be quite
A hit.
a hit on the shelves.
Yeah.
So the other 2 will probably archive in the long run, like maybe 3 months or 6 months down the road, you'll be archived. Yeah.
I see. So if you can, roughly describe what are the type of games that Singaporeans like?
I think
What is it?
at the moment, from I would say like from very day one till now, right? There are 2 types of games that I see that still what most Singaporeans like to play is that whenever you ask them, do you like to me to introduce any games to you or whatever, some of them would say is that, I want a game that is no-brainer. Like, I don't want to think too much. So certain games like that is party, that is fun, that is, as long as that they have a good chill out time with their friends, it works in Singapore,
Okay.
right? So the second type would be those type of games that when they play the games, they have a chance to or sabotage other people, right? Like make people lose a turn or steal something from other people, or or get them out of the game,
Okay.
or trying to bluff them that you are not the murderer or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think in real life, maybe
They don't get
obviously they don't have the chance to do this. So when they get into a game and when they're doing role play, they're so excited. They can do this right in front to their friend. So these are the games that really get them excited, and it's been now and still very, very well received. Yeah.
So you would think that different cultures, for example, Korean versus Singapore, because of the type of people that are playing board games, their preference is different as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's very interesting.
Because like certain type of games, like let's say abstract strategy, where you see the board games with 9 pieces, example like not really chess, but those abstract strategy. It might not be doing very well here, but it might be doing very well in Korea.
Correct.
Because the people there like it like art pieces and you move it around. But in
Yes.
Singapore, of course, they are followers, but not as strong as
So you just want to sabo people, steal their stuff, and then like no-brainer games, essentially. So on that note about no-brainer games, do you think that it's because, for example, Singaporeans are turning to board games as a method to relieve their mental health as well as mental wellness? So that's why they're choosing to go to games where they can really switch off from work, for instance.
Yep, I agree on that. Other than that, it's a very good time where they can actually have a good bonding time with their friends, as well to know their friends better, right? It's always very good to understand your lifetime partner by playing a game with them. Because when you play a game with your lifetime partner, you can actually have a chance to see whether your lifetime partner, how he or she reacts when he wins or when he loses the game. Because in real life, you might not be having a chance until you probably get married, So the thing is that it's good to understand. Who knows, maybe when you play the game, then you realize that your partners cannot afford to just lose a game. You get so annoyed and just walk off.
Pro tip.
Right? So these are the things that it can bring out. I have seen people crying, and quarreling, leaving the cafe, through a game. Yes.
Like couples,
a group,
or like friends.
a group of people, they play, and then one of them will cry and then walk,
Yeah.
leave the cafe. So this is one part which I think, and of course the other thing is that I think the more that we are online with all the electronic gadget, the more that we feel that it's good for us if you have a chance to actually meet people, right, face to face, and of course, not only just have a meal, but maybe have a games together. Yeah.
Okay. So earlier on you mentioned that, you have people who walked out of the cafe.
Yeah.
But do you have people who meet here and then combine tables and play together?
Yes, but not so regularly, because the current mode that we are operating on is still people call up their friends, then decide to come on this particular date and time, and they make a reservations, and they proceed on to the cafe. So that's why I think this business environment is changing, right? What we're seeing is that there's more and more demand. I personally is supporting this demand, whereby we call it the strangers meetup.
Okay.
So for example, you could be having a little bit of time on Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday. So you might not be able to get your friends, maybe they are overseas or what. So you can actually book a table at the cafe where you can meet other people with the same interest to play the board games with you.
But what I found really interesting is that, we are living in a world where there's so much digital, distractions, right? We have Netflix, we have our social media, there's even the latest game, Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
So a lot of your customers are probably at home playing now. But what makes board games so popular? Why is it that people still come back despite, having, their handphone so easy for them to access different games online?
I think it's the experience. Basically, what we are promoting on is the experience of playing a game with your friends or with your relatives, because it's very different. It's a very different type of experience that you play online games. You don't actually see them, right? So when you come to a table and you gather all your friends or relatives and you play the games, that's the experience that we are selling.
I see. So it's not something that we can replicate through online games.
I don't think it's possible, right? And you'll be amazed that especially during the last 2 years during the pandemic, the number of board games title that's out in the market has, is even more increasing.
Yeah.
So it's a very welcoming sign, because this whole industry is still moving, very in so-called demand. The demand is very strong. So we think that as long as there are places where you can allow people to come together and play the games, this industry would still be able to stay around for as long as it goes. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's kind of like people just need a space together, right? It's like people are always on the lookout. So what are things that I can do with my friends this weekend? And I think that this is a great addition to what they have.
Yeah.
So understand that, from now you have at least 2,000 customers every week.
Yeah,
and
correct.
6 events?
More than 6 sometimes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. That's an awesome number, right?
Yeah.
So who are these people attending, organizing these events, and how are they integrating board games as part of their social events?
Okay, we basically do team bonding events for the MNCs, the SMEs, and the ministries. What we sell them is that it's basically like a game show. So like what you watch those type of like game shows on the TV, like Deal or No Deal, like Wheels of Fortune, all this. So we actually do it live for the company. So when, let's say, there's a company of a ministry of like 150 packs, so we will actually use the games, right, to run it like a game show where there's a game MC and make these 150 people play together, like as if like they are in a live game show. So if you think about it, we're selling experience as well. How many times do you have a chance to be in a game show? So it's not just an ordinary board game session, but it's attending a game show.
Okay.
So through this, right, I think the companies like the way that we present to them. So it has been very well received, and we've been doing this team bonding event since the very first or second year. So it has been continuously doing average about 6 to 8 events a week.
So the Mind Cafe has been around since 2005.
Yes.
What are some challenges you have faced? And, as a driving force, in the board games community in Singapore, what do you do to make sure that you can maintain this demand of board games?
I think we did not have a good start. We have a good start where the demand was high, but we started off with the model of trying to do like a chain concept. It means we actually open up to about 6 outlets. So that type of concept is very demanding, because in a small place like in Singapore, you have to be very unique. Every store have to be very unique. So the Starbucks model for this business is not ideal.
Okay.
So that's why it takes us a lot of time. We actually built 6 outlets over like 5 years, an additional 1 outlet per year. And it takes us another 5 years to close down another 5 outlets. So this 10-year was like experience like building and closing.
Okay.
So a lot of time and money has gone into this. Of course, I wouldn't say that you've gone to waste, but the approach that I think would be more appropriate could be a little bit like more towards like one outlet which is very iconic.
Okay.
Or like I give a model like, let's say example like Kidzania in Singapore. You don't see Kidzania all over. You only see one Kidzania.
And it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. So that people will go there knowing what they want to expect out of this outlet. And they don't replicate so many, so they just focus on this. So the later part, actually I embarked on this. So I open mega outlets, I open big outlets to
build the iconic
set,
Yeah.
so that people will come in, they say, wow, this is a place I want to be at because this place is big. I can have events and I can do a lot of things. So this one. The second one is that when we started off, being lack of that training in accounts and business, so we did not devise the whole through the package like customer experience, because when you entice or when you teach the customer how to play those games, obviously there'll be a lot of people who want to buy the games, but we are so focused, we are so caught up with the expansion plan, being to keep on expand outlets after outlets. So we lose the growth opportunity for this retail and distributions so much that it's more than 10 years. And by then, when we enter into this market, because of that time during the pandemic, we realized that there are other people who are actually not even knowing anything about the games, but they just sell the games. That means because they have been actually meeting this demand, since you're not selling, obviously someone else would sell on behalf of you. So this is one of another setback. The thing that if I got a chance to do again, it might be different.
Okay. So for yourself, for example, if you realize that later on, there's a dip in the demands for board games in Singapore, what do you do to make sure that there's a healthy increase, or at least maintaining the interest of board games in Singapore?
I think we will have to look into various form of reaching out to the customers. Right now, we are embarking on a plan of reaching out to home people. Residential. How we do it is that I shared with my staff that people actually used to have bookshelves at home. So why not they have a game shelf? So if this game shelf is maintained by us, that means you could have a game shelf that have 30 games, and every month we come and change the games for you. Then you don't have to worry about missing pieces. You don't worry about tear and wear. And every month you actually get to have new games title to play. So you don't need to actually purchase it.
That's interesting. So it's already happening in residential areas.
Yes, it's already happening. So we already have clients coming from schools, coming from tuition agency, coming from social homes and all that. So we want to move on more into this, where we want to see that more and more homes are having game shelves instead of bookshelves. Only.
When you say residential areas, do you mean, like, for example, condominiums, their play area, or do you mean people like really at homes?
People at home.
Oh wow! Yeah. So they have kind of there is.
It's a subscription model.
Yeah.
Like let's say you pay like $30 a month. So 1 year you pay $360.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So if you are a gamer, you know that definitely you might be spending more than this. So you have to make decisions that whether you want to buy or you want to have a subscription model, and then have these people coming to your house every month to give you brand new games to play.
So if I were to summarize that up, it would be every opportunity that you can get, you just offer board games and then make sure that it's in sight, even for people at home as well.
Correct.
So
this is one part which we are expanding into. And of course, we see that this is really, really encouraging. We see that the schools and the ministries are looking into taking games as part of the curriculum. So this is exciting. It means they understand that schools cannot just teach just based on textbooks anymore. So they probably have to bring out some games and get the students to play the game. And this is exciting because if the schools are starting to recognize and use games as part of the curriculum, then I think
people are exposed to that from a very young age.
Correct.
And they recognize the benefits of board games.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys also design some of your games.
Yes.
Is that true? What are some of these games that you designed?
I have personally 2 games title one is the Durian game, right? The second game is the Bodyguard. So the Bodyguard is a game which is with a lot of sabotage element in that game. It was a project through the school, and I happen to be part of the project, and it sells very well overseas. Yeah. So meanwhile, this game I'm still working hard to have a revised edition soon. The second game is actually the Durian game. It's sort of like I wanted to introduce the different type of durians to the audience. Because there's always like, so many names like, D1, D13 and Mao San Wang and all these things. So I want to let people know what is actually, how to identify this durian through the games. Yeah, and this game really sells well.
Popular.
Also, yeah.
Who wrote these games?
Oh, I'm the one who actually...
Yourself?
Yeah.
How?
I mean, because through playing games, right, you actually got to know more and more game mechanics. So when through the know more game mechanics, what we actually need is that we need artists. We need artists to help me to draw the cards. Then we need publisher just to help us to print the game. So if you can't sing, if you can't write, then it will be good to publish your own game. Because very popular games, how we actually we get royalties, right? For each copy that sells, there's actually some royalties that go back to us. So, and it's very good that, something that you think about, if one day, if I'm not around anymore, the games are still around.
It's like a legacy.
Yeah,
right?
People are still playing these games. And popular games can sell million copies worldwide. Yeah.
Personally, for myself, because I'm not a professional, but sometimes if I have a random card deck, for example, I'll try to come up with game rules. And I personally find it very tricky because I just don't know if it makes sense. So how do you make sure that whatever you come up with makes sense and works?
Okay, we are a little bit lucky because we have the cafe and we have the staff. So as you know, the staff will be the gimme, will be the tester, all right? Will be the one who, hey, come. I share with you this idea, whether this game works or not. So we'll try the games, and if it works, right, then there'll be through a period of time, like months, where we have to finalize all the game mechanics, right? Once you finalize the game mechanics and you manage to get a prototype, you print out already, right? You put it on the shelf, right? And then the customer will be the next tester. So because customers will be then exposed to this game, and this is our so-called our stages. If the customer have a good response, give us a good response for the game, then we know that this game is what we're going to print. So the whole process can be up to about a year. So, we are glad that we have this platform. So if you don't, then it's a little bit difficult because usually as a game designer, what you do is that you just gather a friend. Then you just ask them, let's play this game. I designed this game. And I think most of the time they tell you, wow, not bad, good.
They lie to you.
Then you will think that, because of your friends who give you the encouragement, then you pour in a lot of your investments to print the games in mass, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 copies. And then when you want to try to sell, then you realize that no one actually want to buy it. Might want to buy the game because that's when actually the one that who want to buy your games will be a stranger to you, will not be your friend. So the testing part, the difficult part is always to make sure that your prototype or your game's concept goes to anyone on the street. And if you love it, then you should then embark on a project.
So what is your advice for someone who is looking to design their own game and enter the board games industry?
I think they should just probably gather more people to try out the games, as well as have opportunity to pass your game to a stranger, right? Then without teaching them how to play this game, ask them for a favor to read through and play the games. If the end result is what you wish for, then it's good. Yeah.
And my last question to you is, when is your next game coming out? No time.
I think I really have no time for this now. But there's a couple of games that I want to publish, probably after I retire.
Okay. And is that soon?
Yeah, soon. I'm going to retire soon. So once I retire, I'll be able to spend more time on publishing games because this is what I would like to do actually. Okay.
So while from someone with a construction background, now you are a upcoming game designer.
Yes.
Yeah. Come entrepreneur. Yeah, and that's a wrap for this episode of We Are Not Ordinary. Thank you, Alvin, for sharing your expertise on all things board games. We hope that you have been inspired to unplug from your screens and connect with others over a game. See you at the Mind Cafe. Thanks, Alvin.
Thank you. We are not ordinary, we are the Mind Cafe.